Hi, my name is Commander Rich DiGiacomo. I'm the author of the Coin Collecting Merit. I've made this video to help commanders and boys with the merit. There are about 5 lessons in the merit, and we're going to begin with lesson number 1. So let's talk about why you collect coins in the first place. Coin collecting is actually a pretty fun hobby. It's not difficult, it doesn't have to be expensive, and it's sort of a unique item that you'll be able to have the rest of your life. There are ancient cultures where everything they ever made has disappeared except for the coins. So this is something that will last for a very, very long time. They're hard and very durable, as opposed to other things that people collect that are easy to damage, like stamps or trading cards or things like that. You can't burn a coin. It's pretty hard to bend a coin. A coin is going to last you for a very long time. Chances are you will be able to pass your coins on to your children or friends or family members, and it's fun to meet with people and trade coins and talk about coins. So it's a pretty good hobby overall. Collecting coins can also teach you about travel and geography, a little bit about economics and how money works, and a lot of history. There's a lot of interesting stories. I like to say that every coin has a story, and if you learn that story, you're going to learn a lot of interesting things. Many people think that collecting coins is an expensive hobby, but it really doesn't have to be that way. You can get coins very commonly in pocket change. You can buy them at a coin store, and surprisingly, there are many affordable coins.
Now, I know what you're thinking. You're saying, hey, Commander Rich, where am I going to get the money for all these coins? I'm just a kid. Well, you can be a little creative. I got a lot of my coins when I was a kid just by asking. Ask your parents. They might have some interesting coins around that they collected when they were kids. You could do some chores, raise some money, get some coins that way. And you can ask people, ask your grandparents, ask your friends. A really good source of coins is to ask a traveler. Many times when people come back from a trip from overseas, they bring coins home with them, and they don't really have anything to do with them anymore, and they'd be happy to give them to you, and I've gotten many interesting coins that way. For example, let me tell you a story about a boy whose father owned a vending machine company. Now, you may not know what a vending machine is, but back in the day, that was a pretty common thing for people to buy candy or gum or something from the machine. And so they would have these stores full of machines, and people buy all sorts of food and treats. Well, anyway, this boy's dad owned this company, so he got millions of coins going through the business every week. And he decided to let his son go ahead and skim through the coins and pull out if there was any old coins that he recognized that were worth money. As long as the boy took a coin of his own and replaced it with whatever he took, the dad was okay with it, and the boy got to keep the coins. Well, over a period of years, the boy amassed $10,000 worth of coins just by going through ordinary pocket change that people were putting in the vending machines.
We don't expect you to spend a lot of money on your coin collection. You don't have to go to a coin store or coin show. You can start your collection with just ordinary pocket change or coins that you have around the house. So the first thing you'll need to do for requirement number 1 of this merit is to pick a theme for your collection. Now this should be your own personal theme, not what somebody else tells you to pick. After all, the point of collecting coins is for fun, so make it a theme that is something that you're interested in.
So spend some time looking through the internet at different kinds of coins. If you can, get to a coin store or a coin convention or something like that. See lots of different coins, look through some coin books, and kind of figure out, what would you like to make for a theme? I mean, after all, it's your collection, so nobody can tell you what kind of theme you should have. You pick what's interesting to you and build the collection from that.
One type of theme that you can do for your coin collection is to do what's called a typeset. A typeset is to collect one of each type of coin from a particular year or a particular country, and you want to try to get one from each mint that made coins in that country during that year. You can also make a theme for your collection that shows coins from a particular country, language, or region. You may wish to choose that for your theme because you've been to that country, or your family is from there, or you speak that language.
Some people like to pick a theme for their coin collection that has nothing to do with any particular country or type of coin. They just like that thing. So they're into ships, and they'll collect all the coins they can find with ships on them, or dinosaurs, or spacecraft, or whatever. You can make a special themed collection of anything you like. It could be dogs, or cats, or anything that you're interested in, special plants or birds or anything.
Some people like to make a theme for their coin collection of things that actually aren't coins. They kind of look like coins, but they're not actual coins. Things like tokens. There's tokens that were made for subways, for game arcades, for telephones, things like that. We don't use them much anymore, but this was once a really common thing, and people like to collect these tokens. Some people like to collect medals. These are not necessarily just military medals. They could be a special type of commemorative coin that kind of looks like a medal. It's big and thick and has some special person or special event on it.
One final theme that you might choose is to choose things that were used for money that are not strictly coinage. There's all kinds of interesting things, as we'll see in this merit, were used around the world during different periods of history for coins. Things like salt and tea or seashells. Some people like to just collect those things that are sort of weird money. Once you've chosen your theme, tell your commander and have them sign off requirement number 1. If you happen to think of a different theme that we didn't mention, that's probably okay. Just check it out with your commander and see if they approve it.
So money could be anything that everybody agreed had a common value and that you recognized it was something kind of rare. You couldn't just make a piece of money out of a stick that anybody could pick up or a handful of sand or something like that. It had to be something that you could work on, put a little work into it, and everybody went, wow, that's cool, I want that. So the early money was frequently lumps of metal. The problem with the lump of metal was, what do you do with it? How do I know that my lump is any more worthy than your lump? You have to put it on a scale and measure the weight and things like that. So eventually they settled on the idea of coins to make it kind of a standard shape and a standard weight. Eventually somebody in the Greek times in Asia Minor came up with the idea of coinage. And instead of just having a lump of metal, they basically made a round piece of metal, and it had to have the king's face on it to count as money. And then they also had to start weighing the coins because people would realize the law said, hey, as long as the king's face is on there, it's still money, so I'm just going to carve off a little bit and keep that silver and gold and sell it to a merchant or something like that. So they had to change the law again to say, okay, a coin has to be perfectly round, has to have the whole face of the king, or it doesn't count.
Here's an example of some of the weird things that were used for money. Have you heard the expression, for all the tea in China? Well, it was money. This is a famous stone money of the Yap Islands. Something tells me she won't fit that in her purse. Seashells were used for money in many parts of the world, especially in Africa and in the Pacific Islands and in North America with the Native Americans. This is a special kind of shell money called wampum that was used by Native Americans on the Atlantic coast. And in parts of Italy, they used cheese as money, so I guess if you're the big cheese, you got a lot of money. In the Roman Empire, they paid the soldiers with salt, and that is where we get the word salary. In West Africa, they used these long iron wires for money, and they're called kisi pennies.
Finally, there are many forms of money that are used today that are not coins at all. There's paper money, there's credit cards, debit cards, there's even things called bitcoins that are just little fractions of coins left over. There's all kinds of ways that money is transferred from banks and checks and all sorts of ways that money goes from one person to another, and nobody ever hands it to them like they used to do with coins. Originally, kings used alloys in their coinage as a way to make cheaper coins. It was a lot easier to put a little bit of gold or silver on the outside of a coin and then have some other cheaper metal on the inside. They usually backfired, though, because people would realize that the coins were not worth as much as they used to be, and it would actually hurt the economy. In modern times, we do it simply because there's just not enough gold and silver to go around, and it's too expensive to put on coins. So we use a lot of alloys just because we make so many coins. Originally, coins were usually made out of gold or silver, but these were pretty expensive and kind of hard to work with, so it became more common for everyday coins to be made out of copper. Kings started making coins originally with alloys just because it was easier to combine the metals, and one of the most common ones used was bronze. So some of your less expensive, really common ancient coins are actually bronze. And you'd be shocked to find out you can actually buy a Roman coin that's not that great a condition, but because it's made out of bronze, it could be as little as $10. Many people are surprised to find out that coins that they think are made of silver or nickel actually are not made of those things anymore. There's a lot of common American coins that are like that. So you'll see a $50, a quarter, or a dime, and it looks like silver, but it's actually mostly copper inside. It's just a very thin layer of silver on the outside. And guess what? A nickel has hardly got any nickel in it.
Many people were surprised to find out that American coins are not what the metals appear to be, or even what their names are. The penny, for example, as you can see in this chart, is 97.5% zinc, which is a completely different metal, and only 2.5% copper on the outside. And it also tells you that it costs 1.8 cents per penny for the government to make. So they're actually losing money on making pennies, but people still use them, so they make them. Don't worry, they make up their money when they print paper money. The nickel, on the other hand, is really not nickel at all anymore. It's 75% copper and only 25% nickel. Quarters, dimes, and half dollars are about the same. They're about 91.7% copper, 8.3% nickel. And the dollar, which people used to call silver dollar, often isn't silver at all anymore. It's 88.5% copper, 6% zinc, 3.5% manganese, which is a completely different metal, and only 2% nickel.
Hello, welcome to Lesson 2. In this lesson, we're going to look at how to identify your coins and how to find out how much they're worth. Now, there's a common saying that says, coins are worth whatever somebody is willing to pay for them. While that's true, it's a good idea to get a value for your coins so you have a general idea what they're worth. Now, we don't recommend that you go out and pay a professional coin grader to grade your coins. That's really something only that the high-end collectors need to do when they have very rare, very expensive coins. But you can, just by looking through books and looking through the internet, get a general idea what your coins are worth, and that's a good idea.
There have also been cases where people have found very valuable coins just in ordinary pocket change. One time a person pulled out a Sacagawea dollar. That's the one you may recognize. It's sort of a golden color. And he realized there was something funny about it. He looked a little bit closer, and as a matter of fact, the dollar was printed on the material for a quarter. It looked exactly the same as a normal Sacagawea dollar, but it was on the wrong coin. He took it to a coin collector in a dealer shop and asked him if it might be worth something, and he was absolutely shocked to find out that it was worth $1 million. One time when I was a student, I was standing in the lunch line, and I noticed that a girl was about to buy her lunch with $1. And I remember hearing about silver dollars that my grandfather collected, and I noticed there was something really unusual about this dollar. So I just very casually said, "Hey, I'll buy that off of you for $1." And she said, "Sure, I don't care. It doesn't mean anything to me." She handed me the dollar. Sure enough, it was a silver dollar from 1874. Turned out to be worth about $100. Now you may think, I ripped her off by taking that coin. But in the coin collecting world, it's whatever a coin's fair market value is. So she was willing to sell it for $1. I was giving her an honest price. No one had an objection to it. I just happened to know it was worth more than that, and I held on to it, and turned out to be a valuable coin. And the opposite, of course, may turn out to be true too. There's a story about a man who collected silver dollars, and each of them was worth at least $100 apiece. But he spent a little too much money on his coin collection, and his wife got fed up with the amount of money that he was spending. She kept pestering him, "I need a pair of glasses. I need a pair of glasses. This is more important than your coins. Will you please buy me a pair of glasses?" Well, he put it off and put it off because he liked to make his coin collection. And she finally got fed up one day and went into his closet and took the $32 that she needed for a pair of glasses from his silver coin collection. And of course, the optometrist did not mind one bit. They're like $32 is $32. So they accepted it, and she paid her bill and she got her glasses. And of course, her husband was shocked to find that she had just spent about $3,200 on his glasses because she had cashed in his coins without asking his permission.
Just remember that if you're going to take your coins to a coin store or coin dealer to sell them, generally they're going to pay less than what the coin is worth. It only makes sense. They have to make a profit when they sell the coin to somebody else. So a typical example of that is people will go rushing into a coin store and say, "Hey, wow, I've got a $2 bill. That must be worth a lot, right?" And the coin dealer would typically say something like, "Yeah, I'll pay you $1.50 for it." And they'll say, "What? I thought it was a $2 bill. It must be worth a lot." Yes, but it's so common that when I go to sell it, it's only worth $2, so I might as well just pay you $1.50 for it so I can make any kind of profit at all. Knowing the value of your coins allows you to make reasonable goals about completing your collection. Sometimes people will go crazy trying to find that one coin that is the missing one in their set, and it's so expensive that it's really not worth it. They'd be much more satisfied in just making a collection with reasonable goals, more common coins, and having more of them and enjoying them a lot more. I mean, you want to enjoy your collection, but sure, it's great if they also go up in value, but don't bank on that as an investment in itself. A lot of coins go up sometimes in value, but sometimes they also go down in value. So you really shouldn't be into coin collecting just as an investment. A lot of people have the misconception that the value of a coin is because it's old. They'll go rushing into a coin store. "I have this coin. It's really old. It must be worth a fortune." Well, maybe not. There's actually, like I said, some very common ancient coins that are not expensive at all. It's really much more important about the scarcity of the coin. Now, there you go, Commander Rich, using big words again. What is scarcity? Well, scarcity is how rare a coin is. If a coin is rare, it could be worth a lot of money, even if it's a really new coin. Like, say it's a strange error that the mint made on a coin, or maybe just a country didn't make very many of a particular coin. That is actually much more important. If it's a rare coin, it is worth much more money than a common coin. The second most important thing is condition. Condition is really important no matter what kinds of things you collect, but it's especially important in coins. People have commonly tried to do things to improve the condition of their coins, and they actually make them worse. Aww. Never, ever, ever try to polish a coin or change it in some way yourself to try and make it worth more money. So the third and actually least important thing about the value of a coin is its age. Sure, older things are generally worth more money, but if the coin is really, really common and in terrible condition, it's not going to be worth money no matter how old it is. So you really have to think about that. Yeah, old is cool, but old may not necessarily equal valuable. So requirement 4 is going to ask you to explain the steps necessary to identify a coin of unknown origin. So you've got this coin and you don't know where it's from, and there's no way to know what the value is unless you know what kind of coin you've got. Well, there's a couple of different ways you can do that. You could try looking it up on the internet. There are some handy websites that will tell you how to identify a coin. You could also scan through auction sites for coins or eBay or different sites like that and see if you see a similar coin that someone's already identified. Say, aha, that's it, that's my coin. It's better to do it by use of books. There are specific books for every type of coin, and you can search through them and figure out what your coin is worth. As a last resort, go ahead and take it to a coin dealer. They can usually pretty readily tell you where the coin is from and what the value is. By the way, beware of any coin dealer who wants to charge you a fee for doing that. That basically just means, go away, kid, you bother me. I don't want to deal with your coins. They're probably not worth anything, and so I'm annoyed with you, so I'm going to charge you this fee to make you not want to leave your coins with me, because I'd really rather deal with the bigwig collectors with expensive coins. You don't want to go to that kind of coin dealer anyway. Sometimes the names of the coins on the coins themselves will give you the origin of the coin as well. Like marks are from Germany, francs are from France, yen are from Japan. And if you're looking at an older coin and you see those words on it, you can tell right away what country it is. You'll learn those after a while of collecting different countries' coins. Sometimes you can identify a coin by the pictures that are on the coin. So, for example, American coins often have eagles on them, but a lot of other countries have eagles as well. So you can look up a chart in a book or on a website that'll say this symbol or this emblem or this picture goes with a particular country. So if there's an elephant on the coin, it's probably going to be from Africa. Certain countries use a flower or a bird or stars or things like that for their symbols. Sometimes you can identify a coin by the people that are on it. You might see an American president or a certain king. Queen Elizabeth is a really good example of that. She's on more coins than practically anybody else in history. So you can know that even if that coin is not necessarily British, it's got her picture on it, it probably was a British colony at some time. Sometimes the date can help you identify a coin. It will help you know, for example, if it's something from the 1800s or 1900s, it's not going to be an ancient coin. Also, be aware because sometimes the dates are not what you expect. There are some countries that use different dating systems based on a Mason calendar or something like that. And you'll say, oh, 1389, must be really, really old. Well, they're on a different calendar than the Western calendar, and it's not as old as you might think it is. Sometimes the dates are in other numerals, like Roman numerals or other systems like that. And it's a little hard to figure out. So you're going to have to look that up and find a chart. It'll tell you what are Roman numerals or how do Arabic calendars convert over to Western calendars, things like that. And when you're identifying a coin, don't forget to look at the back of the coin. There's often different words or pictures on the back of the coin, or even along the edges sometimes. You'll see inscriptions that are in there that will help you identify the coin. Also, knowing what metal the coin is made out of is helpful, because then it can tell you where the country is from, when it was made, things like that. Sometimes countries change their metals, so when they switch over from one metal composition to another, that tells you it's a different kind of coin. So basically, any good coin book will show you the front and back of the coin, and it'll have an actual size picture that you can compare your coin to. Actually put it right there on the page and look at it and see, there it is, that's my coin, that's the year, that's the country it's from. It's also helpful to know the size of the coin. Generally, coins are described in terms of size, like a big coin with a king's face on it is known as a crown, or something to be comparable to an American dollar coin. There's also quarters, nickels, pennies, things like that. But sometimes, especially if it's a foreign coin, it will be described in terms of metric measurements. So it might say how many millimeters it is across or how many centimeters, something like that. So you can actually go and measure the coin and compare it to one in a book, and that'll help you identify it by size. Also, you can identify a coin by the shape of it sometimes. There are coins that have tiny little ridges along the edge. You can actually feel them with your finger. Some coins are very odd shaped. There's some that are square or hexagonal or all kinds of weird shapes. Some of them have little holes in the middle, and people string them around their neck as jewelry. There's a lot of very unusual shaped coins out there. Little tiny, teeny coins, very large coins. The shape can often be very helpful in identifying a coin. So when you put it all together, you've got the language of the coin, the pictures that are on it, the words, the shape, what kind of metal it's made out of, the date. If you can put all these things together, chances are you'll get a reasonable match for your coin. You can look it up in coin books, you can look it up online, you get a general idea what it's worth, and of course you can always take it to a coin dealer and they can tell you what it's worth as well. So now it's your turn. Use the skills that you've learned. Find an unusual coin that you're not certain where it came from. It could be one that you have or someone gave you. And show your commander how you figured out where that coin was from using the things that we talked about in the coin books, the internet, or talking to a coin dealer. If you've successfully identified an unknown coin, have your commander sign off requirement number 4. Fun fact, the system that you're about to learn was first developed by coin collectors, but it's now used by collectors of almost any kind. So you'll commonly hear people talk about that's an uncirculated or that's fine or whatever. They got that from coin collectors first. Okay, so the best one you can find is a coin that is uncirculated. Now, what that literally means is the coin never went out to the public. It's like it just came out of the mint. It's super shiny, and it looks like it is never touched by human hands, so to speak. Well, it doesn't actually have to be uncirculated to be called uncirculated. It just has to look uncirculated, okay? So an uncirculated coin, or sometimes called UNC, U-N-C, is in the appearance that it's never been used. It has no scratches on it. There's no worn down places of any kind. There's no marks on it or any kind of mistakes at all. It looks new, but it doesn't necessarily have to be shiny. It just has to look like no one's ever used the coin before. The next grade down from uncirculated is extremely fine. Now, uncirculated is nearly perfect. It doesn't even have fingerprints on it most of the time. But extremely fine, also known as EF, is something that's pretty close to uncirculated, but it shows some slight wear. It still generally looks new, but there's a few places on the coin that have worn smooth, or it's got a few minor scratches on it. It's still pretty good, but you can't quite call it uncirculated, so we call it extremely fine. The next grade down from extremely fine is called very fine. Now this is a fine line. Very fine, or also known as VF, shows some signs of wear, but it still has a clear design and clear lettering. You can tell people have been using this coin, but it's still in generally pretty good condition. That's very fine. The next grade down from very fine is known as fine. Now that can be a little bit misleading because some people go, oh, that's fine. Oh, it's really nice. Fine is just fine, okay? It's symbolized by an F, and fine shows wear, but the basic outline is clear. Some details and the lettering are worn smooth. So this coin has been around for a while, but considering its age or whatever, it's still in pretty good condition. So we call it fine. Now the next grade down from fine is called very good, or VG. Now this one is really confusing because very good sounds very good, but very good is actually very bad. Okay, so very good means it's pretty well worn. It's still a nice, pretty coin. It's attractive. But it's got some scratches, or the color is kind of funny. It's been worn down a bit, and it's good, but it's not great. The next grade down from very good is called good, or G. Good is not really that good at all. It's just not bad. A good coin is worn down. The date or mint mark might not be all that clear anymore. There's some smooth places. You can still make out the major features of the coin, and it's not bad, but it might have some scratches or a funny color. A good coin is just not bad. The next grade down from good is called fair, or F. Fair coin is just fair. It's not even all that worth collecting. It's pretty badly worn. The date might be partially missing, or you can't read the mint mark anymore. It's got a really weird color or a lot of big scratches on it. This is a coin that is barely collectible, and unless it's really rare, it's usually not even worth your time. And the lowest grade of them all, poor. Poor is signified by P. This thing is barely recognizable. It's like a smooth disc of metal. It's so smooth you can barely figure out what the face on it is. You can't read the country. Or somebody did something really bad to this coin, like gouge it or poke a hole in it, or, scratched off the face or something like that. It could have a really weird color. It could actually be bent or corroded. This is a terrible coin. You really don't even want to bother with collecting this thing because it's so bad. So for requirement number 5, you get to identify the coins by grade. Have your commander lay out a series of coins or pictures of coins from uncirculated all the way down to poor, and you move the coins around and lay them next to the one that is the proper grade, and have your commander check it out and see if you graded them correctly. Have fun. Okay, the next part of lesson number 2 is for you to identify the parts of a coin. Your commander is going to give you a worksheet called MLR number 2, parts of a coin. He will explain to you the parts of a coin, and you will label each part on your worksheet and have him sign it off when you're completed. All right, the last part of lesson number 2. Yay! Okay, for requirement number 6, you're going to draw some coins yourself. Pick 4 coins from your collection, and on some scratch paper, draw the front of the coin and the back of the coin as close as you can to what you see. Now we have some more fancy words for you. The front of the coin is called the obverse, and the back of the coin is called the reverse. You don't actually have to memorize that for this merit, but it's handy to know. Everybody knows the word reverse, like go back and reverse. It's the back side. And the front side is called the obverse, and the way to remember that is it's obviously not the reverse, okay? So obverse is the front of the coin, reverse is the back. You want to draw each coin front and back. Now, we know that we don't expect you to be some great artist or whatever. Just draw it as best as you can with the pictures and the words. Try to show the mint mark and the date and any slogans or mottos or anything that's on the coin as well. Just draw it to the best of your ability. 4 coins, front and back. Coin collecting merit lesson number 3. In this lesson, we're going to talk about how to identify fake coins, which are called counterfeits, and the ways that a damaged coin is actually less in value. Now, many people get a coin and it appears to be old and not great in appearance, and they feel like, oh, I've got to clean my coin. Well, that is actually the worst possible thing that you can do. Anything that you do to change the appearance of a coin is actually going to make it go down in value. So let me stress that again. The best thing to do with your coins is to leave them alone. Don't try to clean them or change them in any way. People sometimes try to use silver polish or harsh chemicals to clean their coins. There's even commercially available coin cleaning solutions that you can put on your coins. Well, the problem is that those things actually scratch your coins. And if you take them to a coin dealer, they can instantly tell any coin that has been cleaned, and they know that it's less in value. And I've frequently seen people get paid half the value for their coins just because they tried to clean them themselves. Unfortunately, people have done some pretty crazy things to coins. You may have seen machines that'll flatten out a coin, turn it into some kind of souvenir token that you can take with you. People have painted them, poked holes in them, cut away the background and turned them into jewelry, all sorts of crazy things, and that just really drives coin collectors crazy because that coin is destroyed forever. They may think they're making something beautiful. What they've really done is taken a coin out of circulation and made it absolutely uncollectible and destroyed whatever value the coin has had forever. Now, a word about how coins are made. I'm going to give you a brief description of how this is done, but it's really better if you go to a video online and watch something about how coins are made that's put out by the U.S. Mint or other educational film producers that are on YouTube and many other places. It's pretty fascinating to see the actual machines at work, how coins are designed and made and distributed. So, in general terms, coins are made at the mint, and by the way, the United States makes coins for many other countries as well that can't afford to make their own coins. But they're made at the mint. They start out with sheets of metal that are the alloys that will go into the coin, and then there are stamps that cut out the blanks, and then the blanks are taken over to the actual presses that will make the coins. Now, on the presses are these things called dies. Dies are what actually makes the coin. They've heated up the blanks already. They put them on the dies. The dies are designed by artists. They have to be engravers who are very, very skilled, and there are very few of them that the Mint employs. And they put the design for the front of the coin, which is called the obverse, if you remember, and then a separate die for the reverse, which is the back of the coin. And these dies are very highly specialized, very valuable, very protected by the mint because they're worth so much money. And these stamp the coin from each side, very high pressure, and sometimes more than once. And then the coin is released and it is inspected, and then it is bagged and sent away to the banks. Now, here's an interesting sidelight. Sometimes those inspectors don't catch the mistakes, and there are things called error coins that make it out into general circulation that aren't supposed to. That instantly makes them valuable. It's a little hard to put the value on an error coin because it's basically worth whatever somebody feels like paying for it. But they're really interesting to collect. They're rare, they're hard to find, and there's all kinds of crazy errors that show up on these error coins. Sometimes the blanks themselves get out with absolutely nothing on them at all, or only part of a coin stamped on them. Other times they accidentally stamp the coin too many times, and you'll see 2, 3 stamps and look like a shadow image or blur. Other times you'll see a clipped off part of a coin or one coin on top of the other. All kinds of strange errors have made it out there. And when they do, which is not very often, the collectors love to snap them up because it's something the inspector should have caught, and it gets out into the general circulation. Okay, for requirement number 7 in this merit, you need to be able to identify how coins are counterfeited. Now, counterfeiting basically means making a fake or bogus coin. Unfortunately, with any hobby where you collect something that somebody has value in, there are people out there that are bad, and they're going to make fake ones to try to rip people off. There's a general rule in coin collecting that if something is too good to be true, it probably is not true. So if someone suddenly comes up with this really rare and highly collectible coin that everybody wants, and they're offering this ridiculously low price for it, there's a pretty good chance that that's a fake. So you need to be aware of what these counterfeits look like and how to spot them. And if there's any doubt whatsoever, don't buy the coin, or if you have found one and you suspect that it's a counterfeit, take it to a coin dealer and they can tell you right away whether it's real or whether it's fake. There are 2 main ways that people will counterfeit coins. First of all, they'll try to make a coin of their own that they hope looks enough like the real coin that people will buy it, and then they rip the people off. The second way to do it is to take an existing coin that is real and alter it in some way to make it look like a really rare version of that coin that's highly collectible. There are several ways to spot a counterfeit coin. One of them is by the metal that the coin is made out of. If you have a genuine, real silver coin, it has a certain sound to it. If you drop it on the table, it'll go ring, 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 and then you know that that's what silver sounds like. You take a counterfeit coin of the same type, you drop it on the table, and it doesn't have that same kind of ringing sound that a silver coin makes, you know that that's a fake. So it's very common for counterfeiters to use the wrong metal to try to fool you and get you to buy a fake coin. Same goes for gold coins or any other metals that are commonly used for coins. Another way to spot a counterfeit coin is to look very carefully at the mint marks and the date of the coin. So what the counterfeiters will do is they'll take a coin that's more common of the same type, and then they'll monkey with the date or the mint mark to make it a more rare version of that coin and fool people into buying it. So what you do is you take a magnifying glass and you look very carefully at the date. If anything looks funny about the numbers, maybe they've been filed down, maybe somebody has soldered some metal on there to put a different number, something like that. If anything looks funny about the mint mark, like it's been added on or filed off or anything like that changed about the dates, you know this coin is probably a counterfeit coin. Also, if you want to detect counterfeits, look at the general appearance of the coin. Does it look clear and sharp like a normal coin, or does it have sort of a weird milky look to it? If it's unclear and fuzzy and just really bad quality, it's probably been sand casted instead of made with a die. Also, you can tell when a coin's been sandcasted with a mold because it has like little pimples on it, little weird dots and things like that. There may be cracks that appear in it or like wrinkles of the metal. If you look at the edge of the coin, it has that reading, which is those little lines on the side of the coin. If those don't look normal, or if there's some missing or cracked or whatever, that tells you the coin has also probably been counterfeited. So, commanders, if you can, bring in examples of actual coins, a real one and a counterfeit one, and show them to the boys and have them compare the differences. Put several coins in front of them and have them try to identify which one is the counterfeit. You can usually get a counterfeit coin from a coin dealer, and they'll be happy to give you one as an example. Another way to do it is to go onto a website that compares the two head to head, or a coin collecting book. Look at the original and look at the counterfeit and be able to spot the differences. Once the boys can tell you what some of the general items are, or usually the ways that coins are counterfeited, they are good to go, and you can sign them off on requirement number 7. Collecting Lesson 4. As we mentioned in Lesson 3, the best way to clean coins is to not clean coins. Don't try to clean your coins yourself if at all possible. Just leave them the way they are. They're worth more money in the condition that they're in. So, bottom line, leave your coins alone. Now, having said that, there are a few things that you can do to clean a coin. Gently, quietly clean a coin, that's okay. Try to use any kind of chemical on it, bad idea. Most of the dirt on coins actually comes from human oils on your skin. So think about how many people have touched a coin over the many years of its existence. There's a lot of dirt on there. And you'll notice if you're working with coins, your hands will actually get dirty after a while. So you may want to think about using gloves or washing your hands afterwards. So anyway, to clean a coin on your own, just to get some of that superficial dirt off of it, what I recommend is just to put them in some water, not too hot, not too cold, and just a tiny bit of dishwashing liquid. Put them in a pan, just quickly rinse them off and dry them right away. You don't want water to be on coins for a long time because that can also damage the coin. And that's really all you should ever do to a coin. No kind of scrubbing or chemicals or anything like that should ever be necessary. And if you do try to use any of those things, you're probably going to damage your coin and lower the value quite a bit. So the goal is to get your coins to be touched as little as possible. Whenever I handle a coin, I always pick it up like this by the edges. I never put my fingerprints on the coin. That's going to make it go down in value. So just get in the habit of every coin you pick up, hold it by the edges like this, and you will get a lot less dirt and fingerprint on your coins. Some people even use tweezers and things like that. Cloths, they don't actually touch the coin, especially if it's something really valuable. Now, in general, what you need to do is try to protect your coins from air or water, and you will need to put something over the coins so that they don't get touched more and get dirty and go down in value. If you have a really valuable coin, especially if it's uncirculated, just getting fingerprints on that coin will make it instantly go down in value. So any special coin like that, you probably want to put on some white gloves and handle the coin with that only. Another way that coins go down in value is if they knock against each other too much. So never drag a coin over a rough surface or pile coins one on top of the other. They will get little scratch marks and dings, and that will make the value go down. Like any hobby that collects valuable collectibles, you want to maintain the value of your coins. So there are a number of ways that you can protect your coins. You're covering them with something so that they don't get fingerprints or dirt, water, or anything that's going to harm the coins. There's a lot of different ways to do this that I'll show you. Some of them are very inexpensive, some are more expensive. Some of the more inexpensive ones is to get something like this. This is a coin envelope, and the advantage to this is you can write on it and you can put any details on there that you like about the coin, and that's a good way to identify it. Of course, the bad part is that something can just fall right out of that envelope. Another way to do it is with a plastic envelope, and you can write on that, but again, things may slip around and still get scratched up. It's not super durable, but it's cheap and easy to do it that way. This is called a coin flip, and these little guys can house a coin, but again, things can slip out. In this variety, there's no way to label them. My favorite is to use this type of coin holder, and as you can see, it's got a little cellophane hole there that's just the size of the coin. Turn it over and you can see there's places to write on them. What you do is you staple the coin in there, and then you're free to write on it and tell people where the coin came from and what its value is, denomination, anything else. Only bad part is be careful with those staples. You might accidentally staple the coin and damage it, but generally that'll hold the coin safe. If you have a super valuable coin, you can use these fancy guys. This is what the high-end collectors use for a really valuable proof coin, uncirculated, something like that. So they actually have like a snap together or even little screws that will permanently seal that coin in there. Most people don't need those for the average coins, but that's another way to do it. Another common thing, especially for kids, is to use this type of coin book. And as you can see, this one is for Kennedy half dollars. It's kind of neat because it has everything in there already labeled for you and how to make your set. These are not super cheap, but they're not really too expensive. And they're kind of a nice way, especially if you want to get like a type set where you're trying to get one of each kind of a coin. The advantage is you just push them in those little holes, and that's kind of cool. They snap in there, but you're also going to get a lot of fingerprints on the coin. You might even scratch it while you're pushing in those holes, and it's not really going to protect the coin from the air or dirt or anything like that. So there's advantages and disadvantages to these coin folder, coin book type of things. Another way that it's done is to have a sheet of coin envelopes that are plastic, and then you just slide the coin into one of these little guys right here. It goes down in like that, so you take the coin, slip it in like that, and that's okay. You could put those in, or you can put the coin flip in. Just kind of jam it in there. That's good if you're making a large collection. You can put these in a binder, things like that. Those are kind of nice, and they're not too expensive, usually about $1 a page. That's another way to do it if you want to get a little more fancy. So for requirement number 8, I recommend that the commanders give the boys some practice in gently cleaning coins with soap and water and drying them off, and also putting coins into various forms of storage. For requirements 8 and 9, I recommend that the commander play a little game of do's and don'ts where they say something about how to handle a coin or clean a coin, and then the boys can yell out true or false to say whether they're doing something that is good or something that's actually going to damage the coin. For requirement number 10, commanders bring in a variety of methods for storing coins and let the boys practice putting their coins into these holders, and if possible writing some identification of the coins, such as the mint mark, the year, the denomination, the country of origin, things like that. Just use the cheapest forms of coin storage that are available for the boys. Don't expect them to use any of the expensive accessories, just common envelopes and flips and things like that. Coin Collecting Merit lesson number 5. In this lesson we're going to look at a special part of coin collecting that is paper money or currency. Now this is a separate branch of coin collecting. Some coin collectors like to collect paper money and some don't for various reasons. There are special advantages to collecting paper money. It's easy to find, it's not too hard to store, and sometimes it's much more interesting and colorful than coins. There's a lot of things you can do on paper that you can't do on a coin. For example, here's a piece of foreign currency, and you can see it's a totally different size than American money. There's interesting designs on it. When you collect currency from around the world, it's usually pretty cheap to obtain, and the designs are very colorful and much more interesting than American money. In fact, there was complaints that people made because American money had not changed for so many years, say from the 1950s to the 1980s. It basically looked the same, always the same size, same color. People said it was boring. So the government began to produce new kinds of money starting in the late 1990s and up to today. Now there are also some disadvantages to collecting paper currency. One of them is that it can get wrinkled very easily. Here is an example of a fake bill. How do you like that? That's $1 million, right? Okay, we know that that's something that somebody just made for fun, but it shows you how it's been folded and wrinkled, and of course things can tear or burn. So you got to be careful when you're collecting paper money because anything that changes it from being nice and smooth and flat will take the value down quite a bit. You're not going to wrinkle a coin, you're not going to burn a coin, but you can easily mess up a piece of paper. Another disadvantage to collecting paper currency is that it generally doesn't have as much value as coins do. They go up and down in value every day because money is traded on international markets, so it's kind of hard to determine what the value is. Also, some countries tend to print too much money and then the money goes down very quickly in value, or they just completely change their money, come out with a whole new system, and then the old paper money is basically worthless. So they're kind of fun to collect because of the way they look, but they won't generally retain their value as much, especially if they get wrinkled, folded, torn, burned, or damaged in some other way. The exception to that is that if you can get an older piece of currency that's no longer used, they're pretty rare. Most governments routinely destroy their old money and print new ones. This is an example of a bag of old dead dollars. There's actually a bank that belongs to the United States government, and it's called the Federal Reserve, and they are the bank for banks. So they collect up old money, shred it like this. They used to burn it, but that was bad for the environment, and then they give it away to tourists. So sorry, I can't give you one, but these are kind of cool if you ever get a chance to tour the Federal Reserve, or sometimes if you go to the Bureau of Printing and Engraving in Washington, D.C., you can get things like that. Anyway, so they destroy their old money, and then it's gone forever. So if you've got some old money from, say, World War II, and people could change in their money for silver, or even older money could be changed for gold, those are worth quite a bit, or even really rare forms of money like from the Civil War or American Revolution, those are worth a lot of money. They're extremely rare. So when you handle paper currency, you have to handle it very carefully so that you don't wrinkle or tear or fold it. It's also a disadvantage in collecting paper currency because it's very difficult to clean. You definitely don't want to try to wash it or anything like that. When you store it, you can get plastic sheets with little holders in them similar to the ones I showed you for coins, and you can slide the bills into there and put them in a binder. If it's a very rare piece, they make thick plastic coin holders that you can put the bill into. Okay, for the next part of Lesson 5 of the Coin Collecting Merit, you'll need to get the handout from your commander that's called MLR number 5, Parts of Paper Currency, and complete that. Label each part of the paper bills. Okay, we're on the last part of Lesson 5 of the coin collecting merit, and that is how to identify counterfeit paper money. So just like coins, the more valuable and rare something is, the more likely that someone's going to try to create a fake or a counterfeit and pass it off to people. So the government has been forced to come up with different ways of protecting the money so that the people who are using it are not being passed fake money and being ripped off. Now, our money used to be pretty boring and very plain, all the same color, and pretty easy to counterfeit. So the government started passing laws saying you couldn't take a picture of money, things like that. Well, that wasn't sophisticated enough. People started putting money on color copying machines and making reasonably good copies of paper money and cutting it up and passing it off, and people got away with it. So the government realized a few years back they needed to start putting some countermeasures in the money to make it more unique and more different from other countries and other forms of American currency so that people couldn't copy them quite as easily. So a few years back, the government began to radically change our money and the way that it was made to make it harder and harder for counterfeiters to make fake money. One of the first things they did that most people don't realize is that the paper that money is made out of is unique to the government. There is literally only one company that makes that kind of paper, and guess what? It's not really paper. It's actually a type of cloth with several elements mixed into it. That's why, for example, you can put money through the washing machine and it won't just crumple up and be ruined like a piece of paper. So that's the first thing they do is they are the only ones that are allowed to use that kind of paper. And usually if you see a counterfeit bill, the paper will not look the same as it does in American money. The government started by replacing the highest denominations of bills first, and then gradually worked their way all the way down to the dollar bill, and now they have all had modifications made to them. So I'm going to show you a few of the tricks that the government has put into the money to make them harder to copy. So, for example, one of the things that they've done, if you look at your dollar there, you look really closely, see the light, you can see George Washington on the front, and he shines through to the back. If you look carefully, you see his face there. And if you go in very, very close, there's a lot of fine detail in money where they've put tiny, tiny little engravings, some of which are so small that you can't even see them with the eye. And if you try to put those on a color copier, they will blur up and not look like real money, so it's harder for people to fake and counterfeit them. So here's a dollar bill. If you see, it looks from a distance, it looks pretty flat and you only see one side, but if you come in really close, you can see the back side from the front and vice versa. That's not something you used to be able to do. Also the seal, this green circular thing there, where it says 1, that's a new edition. The green serial numbers, and sometimes you can see that from the other side as well. Treasury Department has also changed the color of the bills. So you see there's now some more purples and things besides just green. They made the heads larger on the presidents and made them off-center, added stars and other things to the bills that you couldn't see before. All these things make it harder for a copy machine to pick up on them. If you see on this $20 bill, the word 20 is back there in the background. There's all kinds of things. There's things that are put into the middle of the bill that are called watermarks. Also, if you look really close, there's a lot of little 20s in gold color that are put on the bill. Those will not show up on a color copy machine. So they're just making this as tough on counterfeiters as they possibly can. Sorry guys, no free samples here. This is a $100 bill and you see that there is a plastic strip through it. You can only see that strip if you have a bright light behind it. Also, if you notice by my finger here, there's what's called a watermark, and if you flip it over you can see Benjamin Franklin's head there in the circle. I'm going to bring in a lamp to show you some of the things that are hidden inside of the bill. So here's our $100 bill, and now voila, you can see the hidden watermark there on the right side where you see the picture of Benjamin Franklin and all kinds of hidden things that are inside of the bill. And those are all things that the government has put in there to fool the counterfeiters and make it harder and harder to make fake money. So if you've ever taken a bill to a cashier and you wonder why are they holding it up to the light and putting ultraviolet light on it and all these different things, they are trained to catch these things that counterfeiters try to do to make fake money. So they are able to catch them that way. Because actually if you're caught using counterfeit money, you can be found guilty of a crime too. So if you suspect it at all, take it immediately to a bank and have them turn it in, and it will be destroyed. So if you put all these different countermeasures together that the government has done, it's harder and harder for people to counterfeit money. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't stop people from trying. There's a famous story about a man who tried to pass off $1 million bill. So he went home, he drew $1 million bill, took 2 or 3 days getting it ready, took it to the bank, and tried to cash it in. Any guess to why they caught him? Well, there is no such thing as $1 million bill.
No!
Well, hopefully not all the counterfeiters are that stupid, or maybe we hope that they are. So that about wraps it up for lesson 5 of the coin collecting merit. For requirement number 11, you'll need to tell us some of the advantages and disadvantages of paper money versus coinage. And for requirement 12, you'll need to tell us some of the things that the government has done to stop the counterfeiting of paper money. So just try to identify some of those things that are on our new money that will stop the counterfeiters. We hope that you have enjoyed the coin collecting merit. Hopefully this will be the start of a lifelong hobby that you enjoy for many, many years to come. If you have any questions about the coin collecting merit or coins in general, I'll give you my contact information at the end of this video. Feel free to contact me and I'll be happy to help you with the merit. God bless you and goodbye.